Okay, so today we're going to change the impeller on the outboard. In order to do that, we're going to have to remove this lower unit. I'm going to show you how to do that, and we're going to go ahead and disconnect these bolts, get this lower unit off. Basically take out the old impeller and put in the new one. So that's something we got to do. It's still working. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, it's old. It's been in there for a long time. And better to fix it now than risk it falling apart and the pump breaking or something going wrong while we're on the water. It's still spitting plenty of water out of here, out of the telltale. So it is working, but it's been a while. Got to do it, preventative maintenance. So that's what we're going to do today. Haven't been out fishing for about a week. Been working, been getting stuff done around here. Busted out a piece of artwork the other day. But hopefully getting back out there tomorrow night to do some fishing. A buddy may go with me, so we'll see how that goes. But let's go ahead and change out this impeller. Okay, so I have my 10mm socket. It's been a while. There it goes. This guy. Always turn your prop in the right direction if you need to move it. Don't turn it backwards. These little outboards aren't designed to go backwards. Now, since this has been sitting for so long, it's stuck on pretty hard. This is common. A lot of the times people have to use excessive force to get them off. You just don't want to use a hammer by itself. You don't want to use too much brute force because you could damage something inside. You don't want to risk hurting the spline or anything like that. You don't want to cause any damage to the actual plane here. So we're going to use a piece of wood and a hammer. Couple of taps. Dusty old thing. You can see the way this one's designed, rather than the actual crankshaft being attached to the entire lower unit and going all the way up inside, this crankshaft, you can see that has a female end here that goes up inside, and then the crankshaft just lives inside of the housing here. So, good news is you don't have to worry about threading that back in. You don't have to worry about matching the spline back up. That's all up in there. All you have to do is get this back inside, so that's good news there. Okay, so now that the lower unit is off, one thing about the Tohatsus, at least the 2004 model like this one, is the impeller is not in a separate housing here. Is actually located right inside here. So we'll have to go one step further and remove these two. After removing the prop, get this face off and get to the impeller inside there. Taking the lower unit off is going to make it a lot easier to work on. That's why I did that and put it up here. But now let's go ahead and get that prop off. Check the condition of your shear pin while you're at it. Looks pretty good. Always have backups on board. Always. Because if that goes, you're out of luck. Now let's get that off. Okay, so that is the same size, 10mm that we used earlier. Get this guy off. Now if you ever feel an incredible amount of resistance, be careful. You don't want to snap anything. If it's ever really stuck on there, and you just feel like you got to really wrench down and death grip it, hold off. Get the torch, get a little bit of heat on it. You don't want to bust it off. Try heating it up first, and that'll usually do the trick. You don't want to bust it off and get it stuck in there. These are stuck pretty good. Not to the point where they need to be heated up, but still, until it's been a while. Okay. And as you can see, now you could leave this on the entire outboard and do it all while it's connected, but I like to get it up here on the workbench, be able to move it around, muscle around if I have to. It's a little less awkward for me, it's a little easier, so that's what I do. But if you want to go ahead and leave it on, you can. I just like to leave the outboard upright as is and just take this up here. I also like to get a look up inside there once in a while, check the copper tubing. And what I mean by that is, I like to get a look at this every once in a while. I like to get a look at that every once in a while and check its condition and make sure that it's okay. It's also good to get a look at your drive shaft here, just to inspect, take a look, maybe add a little bit of lubricant when you put it back together. So you can't go wrong with taking it apart. And like I said, I think it's easier. Now we'll go ahead and get that old one out. So let's get this guy out of here. Actually, let me go get my needle nose. Left those in the kayak. And I'll tell you what, right now, considering this is about 9 or 10 years old, that is in remarkable shape. But you can see it's pretty kinked up. Not in the best shape, but how old it is, it sure is. This here is your drive key or your locking pin. If that should fall out, do not lose it. That is critical because that goes into these little grooves, and that's what grabs the impeller and makes it spin. But I am going to take it out. Just because when I take anything apart, one thing I always like to do is clean it, lube it really, really good. And then put it back together. Especially if you're a saltwater fisherman like myself. You know as well as I do how incredibly corrosive life is out there. Okay, so I did get a little bit of steel wool. There's a little bit of gunk on there, so I'll try and clean that up a bit. And we'll go ahead and we'll get a little bit of steel wool on here too. I said I wasn't going to, but broke it out for the rest of it. Might as well for here. But if you were replacing your impeller because the telltale was not spitting any water, before you actually replace the impeller, which you should do anyway, just make sure there's nothing blocking it. Take an air hose, hook it up there, or get some air in there one way or another, and see if you got airflow through here. That tells you have a blockage in your lower unit, through your water flow area. Then you can go ahead and you can do the same thing into that copper pipe, add an air hose, and then feel for airflow up there. And again, if you don't have any air on the telltale, you have a blockage on your upper unit. So, everything seems to be good. Up, free. Now on this impeller, you can see there is no right way to insert it, which makes it nice and easy. Both ends are open, and each side is identical. Some of them are different. Some of them only have an opening on one side of one end. Some of them have an opening on both sides, only of one end, not on both. So, depending on which impeller you're replacing, that is important to pay attention to. But in this case, for the Tohatsu 3.5, 2004 to be specific, does not matter, which makes it easier. Okay, so now we need to put this guy back in. Like anything else, quick spray. Just the slightest amount of WD-40. And time for this guy to go back in there. So, in this case, for this model, it's a 50-50 deal. Always clockwise. Your prop spins clockwise. There is no reverse. Therefore, the impeller has to be clockwise. And we got it. So you can see that is in there good. Prop's going to want to spin this way. Everything in there is good. Free working, free motion. Next step is reassembly. It's now reassembly. Seems to be on there pretty good. Shear pin next. So if you're doing your annual maintenance, you could always change your shear pin. That's when I do it. Keep extras on board for anything in between. God forbid. Doesn't matter. I'm lining everything up perfect. There we go. And there is the cotter pin. Should have done this while I was at it. New diode would be nice, but we'll have to do that soon. And that's basically just a there, kind of absorbing a blow, if you will, of the corrosion. And you can see that one's pretty worn out. A little bit left on it, but we'll be fine for now. So there it is. Impeller switched out. Checked the shear pin, it's good. Because I changed it not too long ago. Pops back on. Cotter pins in place. Good to go. It's always good to clean it out too. Just get all the grime out of there that you can. Nothing mechanical. Really goes in the dead space I'm cleaning now, but Still nice to get all the sediment out since you got it opened up. Might as well do a little cleaning while you're at it. Hair there, so. So that's looking good. Getting ready to reinsert that. I'm gonna get some oil up in there, but I'm gonna clean that first with some steel wool, some corrosion we got going on that. You can see could use a little bit of the cleaning, so we're gonna do it while we're at it. Put a little bit of extra lube in here. Quick shot of WD-40, and we'll close it back up. So that's good. We're gonna take this guy. We're going to pre-place it in here, because that's going to ensure it doesn't get pushed all the way up, that copper rod. Any resistance or push is just going to continue to push this down, rather than it be on the copper. Make sure you have this in here first. That way it just stays snug and in place. So that's the way to do that. Feels good. Looks level and flush. Okay, so you went ahead and clean this out, clean that off, put this rubber washer for this hose that goes up to the telltale back in here. Went ahead and put a little bit of extra grease on it, didn't go crazy, didn't really need it, still plenty greasy in there. Like I was showing you with the impeller, make sure that when you put it in, when you're putting it in, give it a twist clockwise. Clockwise, because that's the way the prop goes on a little outboard like this. That's the only way it can turn. If you were to put it in and give it a twist this way, well, now when the engine's running, it's going to be spinning against the grain. You don't want that. The impeller could stress out and break, and it's just something you don't want. It's not going to pump properly. Always give it that clockwise twist when you insert it. Everything's there, moving freely. Seems nice and good. Sealed up. We're ready to reinstall. Always one of the more difficult parts of doing a lower unit. Lining it all up. But there she goes. Feels like it's about to go. And it went nice.